Welcome to part 2 of Idle Chat with me, Jonny Smith, on the Late Break Show with Mr. Ant Anstead. If you haven't already watched part 1, you might want to watch that first so this makes sense. Otherwise, thanks for joining us. Let's sit down in the brown chairs and crack straight on with the natter. You're juggling quite a few things, which is when I really enjoyed driving this. It was it's a great piece of work.
We're all super proud of it. I mean, I'm not going to take any credit for this.
Okay.
The concept was born out of a show I did called Master Mechanic, which was born out of a charity car. I remember kind of getting heads together with Darren saying, look, I've had so many people reach out about Master Mechanic, and I think that show really, because of timing around COVID, it was a self-build.
Yeah.
It was a lot of a have a go. It was very authentic as well. It broke the fourth wall.
I like the way it was filmed.
I love that style of filming.
Yeah,
that's how I want all shows to be.
I would too as well, actually.
Because everyone knows there's a cameraman there and there's a sound person. Everyone knows this. Just own it. And at the same time, I'd done the book with Haynes, which I'm super proud of, the last ever printed Haynes manual.
Yeah.
Which kind of for Haynes wrapped up, because the first one was how to build a special.
Yeah.
And I did how to build a special. And
Closes
many people, it closed the cycle, but so many people reached out like, COVID, and as you know, car projects have gone through the roof and everybody has changed the way they spend their personal time, and people are buying projects because they want to do it.
There's more tinker time, more.
Yeah, but
it's sort of therapy, I feel.
Yeah, but I mean, kids and their parents, and people are, instead of pre-COVID, let's go to Spain for the weekend, it's now, well, let's get a camper van and go to Cornwall.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Because it's actually better, let's be honest.
Well, yeah, it is.
It is,
We probably should fly less, he says, but mind you don't come to England very much, so.
Well, I'm building a plane at the moment.
You're building a plane?
Well, yeah.
Piss off.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. But so the idea for this is, I remember I got my head together with Darren and said, God, look, we have to make this more accessible, because the Master Mechanic build was an Alpha engine, and you're not going to, and plus it was an MGT chassis.
It's a 50s MG, right, was it?
Like, how many people are going to go break an MGT if you can find one? There was a TD, I think.
Yeah.
Then break a Spider if you can find one.
Yeah.
And then offset a rear axle and, bespoke build a Watts linkage, and actually I'd put a panhard rod on it.
But they just wouldn't.
They just wouldn't.
No.
It would be just impossible for the majority, because there's just no MGs out there. You're not going to break them. We started kind of throwing these ideas around, and I was like, Mazda would be a great.
Well, it has to be affordable, because there's no point in like having an exotic engine which nobody can afford to rebuild or buy.
Rear-wheel drive, disc brakes, independent suspension, manual.
Lots of parts available.
That was the start of making the Tipo accessible. And here we are. So, Darren and I had this kind of crazy vision and idea, but I'm not going to take a single bit of credit for that.
I know he's dived headlong into it.
Yeah, no, he's been perfect for the project, because he's a fantastic engineer.
Yeah.
But he's a great problem solver. But the ethos on that project is, how do you build a car? That's the one challenge. But how do you make that car repeatable for somebody who doesn't have the facilities?
Yeah.
So if you gave someone 2 bits of metal and said weld it, that discounts a big chunk of the audience, because they can't weld.
Yeah.
So you have to make that weldable item boltable. So that's the genius of this project. Is it is truly. I mean, if you had all the parts ready, you and I could build that in a day.
I actually do want to build one, but that's another conversation. It's not for this interview.
You have to build one.
Yeah, I would very much like to. It's quite an addictive idea.
Oh my God, it's
the Tamiya. It's the Tamiya RC kit in me. You lift up that box and you go, right, there's the wishbone bits, there's the bag of bolts.
This is a very entry-level kit.
Yeah.
Like, I would say a reasonably handy 12-year-old would be able to bolt that together with you need a hand with an engine crane for one bit. But other than that, you don't even need any equipment. You could do it on an axle stand.
Well, it's enticing. I've written here, do you get noticed a lot in places like Los Angeles? Because of this high-profile marriage that you were in, is it difficult for you to have actual privacy?
No, it's okay. I mean, Laguna Beach is a really lovely community. There's a lot of famous people, like people that are actually famous.
Yes.
And high profile. So nobody cares.
Yeah.
Orange County it loves reality. So I guess there's a demographic that likes that.
Yes. Gossip.
Yeah, they want the selfie and that kind of stuff. Yeah. But in the main, no, I get I have a normal life.
And when you go to a car show, is it mostly positive?
Yeah, I mean, but I generally find that car people are really good people,
Yeah.
right? Have you ever met a car guy and you think, oh, not, rare, particularly classics.
Yes.
Modern car people.
Yeah, there's a few bad ends about.
But no, I think generally classic car people are, I've had very, very few car people bad experiences.
Yeah.
And, Monterey's really good. And, I think as well, particularly in the last couple of years, because I think Radford's resonated because we're in that kind of really cool space. So it's got, artisan, there's craft to it. It's kind of supercar, but it's not. It's aspirational.
Yeah.
I think the car's beautiful.
Yeah, it is a really good looking car. I'm not saying that because you're sat next to it. I messaged you again. I said, fair dues. I think the car looks really handsome.
No, and it is a really when you stand next to it, it's just got it. The stance, the presence, the proportions, and that's hard to do.
It is.
So I think going to places like Monterey is a particular demographic, and those people know their cars.
And you were there with your new
My girlfriend,
half, Renee. Is she into cars?
She loves cars. Well, we met on a car show.
Of course she did.
Yeah, she was my. So I host a show on Discovery called Celebrity IOU Joyride. There's a pair of twins, Drew and Jonathan Scott, that do a house fixer show. They're called the Property Brothers. And they did a show where they team up with a celebrity, fix someone's house secretly to say thank you. So they find someone worthy.
Yeah.
And as a gift.
They send them on holiday or something.
Well, they time it so they don't know. So the first episode was Brad Pitt. So Brad Pitt wants to thank his long-suffering makeup artist who's been with him for 20 years. She goes away for a few weeks, so he teams up with the Property Brothers, and she's got this kind of outhouse in her garden, and he completely and he does. Brad Pitt is swinging a hammer and painting walls, and they get it done. Renee is friends with Brad Pitt, so Renee contacts Brad Pitt and says, "Wow, how was that experience? And did it work?" And she'd lost a friend through ALS, and she wanted to thank the two nurses, these two brothers, Jerome and Gerard, that had looked after Nancy in the last couple of years of her life. And Brad was like, yeah, it was nice. So she was like, okay, sign me up. And she never does anything outside of movies. Have you ever seen her?
No, I haven't.
So she rarely gives herself outside of films. And so she agreed to do it because she supports ALS. She's a big ambassador for the charity, and she genuinely wanted to say thank you to Jerome and Gerald. These two guys sacrificed their lives to give Nancy the best end. Mm-hmm. And then COVID hit, and there was a delay, and then Discovery threw around the idea of taking this concept and into the car space. So I was then approached with Christy Lee, who's a female host in the US, saying, "Hey, we're going to do Celebrity IOU Joyride," and Renee was approached to say, "Do you want to do car or house?" And she is a car girl. This is a girl who has her own welding helmet.
What?
Yeah, Ren can weld.
Really?
And spanner.
Did you teach her to weld?
No. Her dad taught her to weld.
Wow, okay.
Ren's a handy car person, plus drive stick. She's a proper car girl, Texas. So she was one of the celebrities. And yeah, she was episode 1. And we hit it off straight away, and we were super professional because we were doing a show together.
Of course.
And when we wrapped the last day of filming,
what?
We were off the clock.
You took her to Wetherspoons, didn't you, for a meal deal?
We went to a rooftop in Hollywood.
Did you?
We did, yeah.
Interesting. That must have felt a bit odd because you were like, "Oh, this is fun. She's really nice." But then you're like, "But she's who she is."
She is the least media person I know.
Okay.
Super. I mean, she's amazing.
What does she drive?
She has a mum-mobile, a soccer minivan.
Does she really?
Because
it's stealth wealth, kind of you can go anywhere.
It's under the radar, yeah.
You're not like a car collector, are you?
Not really. I'm a car builder.
You've reached a point where your career's good. You enjoy cars. But you haven't gone, "I'm going to go and buy myself one of them. I'm going to go and buy myself one of them. I'm going to have one of them. Here's my 15-car garage, 10-car garage."
I mean, I've been very lucky in my life. I've had some really nice cars, and I've had some cool cars, and I've had kind of those bucket list cars. And there's been, a few times where I'm like, "Oh, I'm never selling that. I love it," until you don't. And I think, and I'm also one of these people that, I wouldn't feel right having a garage of dusty cars.
Yeah.
So, I'm always turning cars over, and then I'll have something for a year or two, and I'll move it on, and and I've got my eye on the next couple of cars, and I'm.
But you're not an accumulator.
No, I never have been.
No.
No, my free spirit.
Top Gear audition crash. Discuss.
Fuck.
It's only because I remember I went on the same audition mad carousel that was happening at the time.
Oh my!
And I was nervous as hell, as you would be.
I wasn't nervous. I was like almost a bit like, oh, this is cool.
I'll take or leave it.
Yeah, take it or leave it. And I went down to Dunsfold, met Wookie.
Yeah.
He's like, there was a porter cabin.
That's right.
And I walk in and he's flat out asleep on the sofa.
Is he?
Hey, Wookie. Oh, hey, Ant. Hey, you ready? And I did a piece to camera in the warehouse, and then they put me in the AMG C63 estate.
That's right.
With like 3 in-car cameras, and then a couple of guys on sticks around Dunsfold. And the interesting thing about Dunsfold is it's a really open track. If you get it wrong, you can glide across the grass until...
For hours.
For hours. You can just glide. Press play on the Mozart and just let it happen. However, at the back, there is one frickin' tile wall.
There is. I know the wall.
There's one.
Yeah.
And it's about the same size as an AMG C63 estate.
Oh.
And I lost control perfectly and put it perfectly sideways and locked it in the tile wall.
Did you?
Yeah, I fully lost it. I was traveling fast doing this. Oh, this car's great. It's a sports car, but you can go to the shops. It's an estate, but it's a tourer. And I'm like doing this
You're
kind of...
concentrating on your lines.
Well, I was just freestyling this thing and one-handed, and all of a sudden it was like, whoa, bent it. And it was stuck. That was ruined, yeah. It was stuck in that tire wall for a while as well. They couldn't get it out, and they had to get like a thing to tow it out.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realise it was ruined.
And I think it had 60 miles on the clock. And Tom, bless him, was like, it's all right, we have another one. And I got out the car, because I couldn't drive it out. I was stuck in the tire wall. And I got out the car, and the guy on the sticks was right near. Luckily, I didn't hit him. And I kind of went up and did this kind of, whoops, how did your Top Gear audition go? Sorry, Mercedes, kind of thing.
Oh, God.
So that footage is somewhere. It's not been leaked yet.
I've never seen any footage of it.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
No. I haven't looked for it.
BBC, please lock it in the vault. Never show it to anyone because it's super embarrassing.
It didn't do you any harm, though, did it?
Well, no, because no one knew.
Well, no, I know it, but it didn't affect your...
I don't know, Mercedes never given me a car since.
Imagine if you had got the Top Gear job. Poison chalice? How would it have changed your...
I mean, it would have kept me in the UK.
Yeah.
God, that's such a difficult question. I've never actually thought about that.
Yeah, it's like a
sliding doors.
It's a fork. It's exactly that. I do a podcast with a chap called Richard Porter.
I know.
Okay. Well, I just want to put it out there. He sent you a question.
Okay.
I'll just put the volume up on this and see if you can.
Hello, Ant. It's Richard Porter, Jonny's podcasting partner from Smith and Sniff, here with a question. As an ex-police officer, if you could have any police car, current or former, from around the world, what would it be?
Volvo V70. What's the next question?
Oh, that was quick. That was
Best
quick.
police car.
V70.
Yeah.
Nice. Practical.
Yeah, great. I never lost a chase in a Volvo.
Didn't you?
I loved it. Of all the police cars, and bear in mind, when I went armed,
Yeah.
we had the best cars. So we had a fleet, we had a choice of, we had Mercedes or Volvo. And at the time, there was only ever 4 tactical firearms officers on duty.
Yeah.
So you double crewed. So there was 2 cars with 2 people in each. Mm-hmm. And we used to get in first to get the Volvo.
Really?
Yeah, and then the loser got the Mercedes.
Amazing, isn't it?
I love Volvos. And I wrote a book about
I was going to say, you did a book about cop cars, didn't you?
I wrote a book with HarperCollins called The History of the British Police Car. It's called Cops and Robbers.
Yeah.
And it dived into some cool, the history of British police cars, which it was amazing.
What's your feeling on EV converted classic cars?
I'm such a pro EV supporter. I think it's great that we're moving to electric. I think any chance to keep vehicles moving that are electric, fantastic. I worked with EV West. I did a show with EV West.
You did. Michael, it's Michael, isn't it?
Michael Bream, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm currently working on an EV project with a company in Arizona.
You think it can all coexist? You can have the
Absolutely,
purist with the car as was. You can have someone's a bit progressive, maybe lives in a different place.
No, absolutely, they can coexist. And actually, when they started to, when EV conversion started to be a thing a while back, and let's say really in the last 7-8 years, the conversions felt quite clumsy. It was all quite big, and it was all, it was disproportionately weighted. You take the engine out and put a battery there and power it here, and it was all, nobody really cared about ergonomics.
Yeah.
Whereas if you think about the progress that's been made in those 8 years, you can now make, it's quite small and it's lightweight and it's economical, and it's got great range and it charges in a reasonable time. All of a sudden you're like,
Is that what you're going to do to a classic Land Rover in the States?
I'm kind of mulling over a Series 1, battered Series 1 as a beach car.
An EV beach car?
Electric, yeah. So I can, because in California as well, it's quite, doing this, it's called a specialty car construction. You can put together a vehicle. And it's easier if it's electric because there's no emissions.
Yeah, of course. What's your favourite Renee Zellweger film?
I can't answer that.
Well, why not?
Because I'll be in the doghouse if I get it wrong. Oh my God.
There is no wrong. It's what is your favourite?
Oh my gosh. All of them.
Oh, come on, man.
It's funny actually because there's so many of her movies I haven't seen.
Yeah.
And we tease each other about that.
Okay.
She did a movie called Judy, which she was really brilliant in, and I watched it with her.
Did you?
So the first time I watched it was with her, and we watched it in bed, and she gave me like a director's cut of like that scene and what really happened. It was really fascinating to kind of get inside, and it made the movie much richer for me. It was amazing. Yeah.
Judy.
Chicago.
Oh, okay.
I love musicals. I'm a closet.
Do you like musicals?
Oh my God, I'm a closet.
Oh my gosh! If that was the $1 million question for me, I said, "Does Ant Anstead like musicals?" I would have just gone, "Nah."
I've been to Les Mis 9 times. Shit. I have the Les Mis when my cars had CDs. I had like 4 cars with CD players with 4 Les Mis CDs in. Yeah, I love musicals. Yeah.
Shit off.
Yeah, seriously. In fact, last time I came back to London, I went to Beverly Nights.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, Beverly's a good friend.
I mean, I'm terrified of musicals.
I love musical theatre.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, that's my secret.
It's not a secret anymore.
Oh, is that how this works?
The Les Mis CD collection that you've got.
Les Mis, I've been 9 times. Yeah.
Wow.
I love musicals.
Oh my gosh, Ant. Wow, okay. American cars. You live in America, this we know. I turned up in this Ford Lightning that I've just happened to be borrowing at the time. Are you a fan of American cars, or?
Yeah, I mean, the lineage of American cars deserves its space in history.
Yeah.
And it's interesting being a European car lover and raised in that European car community.
Yeah.
To go to America with that kind of prejudice. Oh, they're all big, gas guzzling, and the tanks.
They can't corner, blah blah.
And then when you get there, you realise there's some craft. There are some beautiful American cars.
Yeah. There've been some amazing ones.
But they're bigger. But the need is different out there. The idea of driving for us Brits is like, what, I've got to drive 40 minutes. I mean, that's like, in America, I know people that drive for like 3 days.
Wow. If you had to buy a classic European car right now, what would you buy?
I really am hankering after a Gullwing.
A Gullwing?
Yeah.
SL. Oh, you've got expensive taste, Anthony.
True.
Picked a bad time to want a Gullwing.
I know, true. But I am buying a Land Rover. That is going to happen. One of the things 2022, I'm going to buy a Series 1.
Okay.
I just want one in America. I just think they're the coolest thing.
Yeah.
And
right-hand drive in America?
I would love a right-hand drive. I might even do a center steer, because that was obviously how the original was made.
Yeah.
And it'll be easy with an EV. It's interesting because I went around Monterey Car Week, and I've never really been into Mercedes.
Yeah.
Like we all like Mercedes, but I've never really been into it. And I drove a Gullwing on the world's most expensive cars. And it was effortless. It was just like, oh, I could just drive, I could live in there. It was perfect.
Yeah, the builds of them is gorgeous.
Just drive, I mean, the cars, it's epic.
Yeah.
But then literally this week, my eye gets drawn to various cars. And there's an epic XK120 I really loved. And I love that car, it's a great looking car.
Yeah.
But I just kept going back to the Gullwing. Like, yeah. But you're right, they are quite toppy at the moment.
They are. But a beautiful car. What's your guilty pleasure car? Apart from your dad's Morris Ital.
I mean, back in the day, it was the Fiat X19.
Was it?
Hands down, because of having that moment as a child in the passenger of an X19.
Yeah.
But my guilty pleasure car.
Do you think, oh, I quite like them, or I would own one, but I just wouldn't want to tell many people about it, possibly?
Problem is like all my cars, all my desirable cars are desirable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have one. You know, any car I like, I think is generally popular.
Yeah.
Although I do like the Chevette because of what it represents.
Chevette, yeah.
Yeah.
Chevette's worthy.
Yeah.
Made a good rally car.
See, it's a cool car.
It's sort of, but then I champion a lot of bad cars.
Yeah, you do actually.
Yeah, you see.
Yeah.
I've got quite bad taste, really.
You have I mean, looking at the double denim, yeah. Although they're technically not. Oh no, they are.
Well, no,
It's a Texan tuxedo.
Texan. I've never heard that. Have you ever met any really terrible people in your job since working on TV and stuff like that?
In the police, yes. I spent 3 days with John Duffy, the railway murderer.
Really?
Serial killer, yeah, in a safe house. So he's pretty terrible.
Yeah, I'd say he was quite terrible.
But you mean in TV?
Yeah.
Oh, worse people than John Duffy.
Worse people than a killer.
Yeah, unfortunately. And let's just be totally honest here. The media world attracts some horrible people. And I live on the fringe of Hollywood, which attracts a new layer of even more horrible people. Yeah. So yes, I have met some horrible people in TV. I've worked with some horrible people in TV. And it took me a couple of years to realize how to handle horrible people.
How do you handle horrible people?
Just have great boundaries and tell them to fuck off.
Do you?
Yes. It's the only way.
Yeah, okay.
Because
then they know where you stand.
Yeah, like, I mean, I've worked with some terrible people, some really, really awful people. And I think it's because, a lot of people get into the industry for the wrong reason. And there's this kind of desperation and this insecurity and it manifests in a bad way in humans. And sometimes they just need boundaries.
And there is a lot of toxicity around that sort of Hollywood thing.
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it's, you hear these horror stories, don't you? And you think, that can't be true. And, sometimes it really is.
Really?
Yeah, but you meet horrible people all the time, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just let it wash off.
I've really enjoyed this chat. I mean,
it's been comfortable.
But there you go. I did tell you.
If anything, it's been uncomfortable.
it's
In fact, this looks like my dad's Maxi.
Yeah, it does actually. There is a BL palette to it, isn't there? A colour palette.
If only it was sort of that furry vine, that furry, what is that material they use?
Oh, not Velour or Draylon?
Was it
Velour?
It might be Velour.
Velour.
Velour was more sort of tracksuit, but it was more like bus seat.
Oh,
what is that material?
Yeah, I put some in my Allegro. What is it?
Yes, I know. I watched it.
Yeah, what?
It's awful. But so awful, it was awesome.
Moquette. It's moquette. It's really, really industrial, high bum traffic material.
Yeah, and if you want to like sand down the edge of something, you can
it's very itchy though. It's itchy.
Yeah, and it captures bacteria and dust like like you can't believe.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
It's pretty awful.
Yeah. It wasn't how I was expecting to end this chat, talking about
it's been fun though.
BO dust capturing car fabric. But thanks ever so much for your time.
No, thanks for having me. It's been fun.
And I have actually got some extra questions that I'm going to ask him now, but that's going on to a video for my Patreons. So if you want to become a patron of The Late Break Show, you're more than welcome. I'll put a link in the description. But this is Ant Anstead. You are the most famous car mechanic in the world?
That's not true.
No?
No.
Why?
It's still Edd China.
Oh,
I'm a big Edd China fan.
are you?
Yeah,
Ed's good.
yeah. I think Edd has paved the way. You're not on TV for that long for a reason.
That's very true.
And Edd has paved the way for a lot of mechanics. In fact, Wheeler Dealers has paved the way for pretty much every car show.
You're absolutely right. It's sort of become a template for others, hasn't it?
It has. If you're a production company and you sat down to start a new car show and you don't look at Wheeler Dealers, you are negligent.
Yeah.
You're not doing your job.
Got a lot to thank Wheeler Dealers for.
We all have. The entire industry has a lot to thank Wheeler Dealers for.
Yeah.
You know, it's the kind of the great grand. In fact, next year is the 20th year.
Is it?
Yes, I know that because I might be doing something.
Oh, Anthony.
There's the end.
That's your microphone drop. If you drop your lapel mic. Very cool. That's interesting.
And I hope Edd joins us.
I'd like that a lot.
I'd like that. Everyone would want that.
Do you know the way the older I get, the more I realise that life is too short to sort of...
Of course it is. We're all blooming dying, people.
We are all dying.
Get over yourself.
And
We're all
that
dying.
is a really lovely way to end this. We're all dying. Like and subscribe. We're all dying. Thanks for watching Idle Chat with me, Jonny Smith, here on The Late Break Show with Mr. Ant Anstead. If you want to watch the other Idle Chats that I've done over the last couple of years, I will put a link on screen right now. If you haven't subscribed to The Late Break Show, go and subscribe. Maybe you want to become a Patreon of the channel. I will put a link for that in the description. Cheers.